The magic is good time. All right. I'm trying a different flow today. We'll see how it works.
Oh, I forgot to ask him something, but it's okay. That's fine.
We can ask live.
Yeah. There we go. You know what I've been doing lately?
What you been doing lately?
I've been writing what I feel is some cool stuff. I'm putting it out into the world.
I know.
I'm not just doing videos. Now I'm writing. Maybe because I want to be an author like today's guest.
Hey!
Oh, what?
Hey, what? I mean, yeah. All right. We good?
No,
All right,
I'm still sharing.
Are you ready for the magic? I think I'm ready for the magic. Let me see if I can time it right.
Always,
Here we go.
always. Bring it on.
I think I'm good. There we go. How's it going? That was very
man.
smooth, guys.
We're
welcome.
so confused. We're like, what's happening right
What
now?
just happened? But the feed is what matters. We're good.
Yeah,
By the way,
we can tell here that it worked out. In here, it didn't work out so
I know.
well.
That TV transition there was like so good. Anyways, I'm super excited today. We have a Hall of Famer of Content is Profit coming back after almost 100 episodes. I'm just going to put that.
He's actually a Hall of Famer for multiple reasons.
For multiple
not just
reasons.
Once, yeah.
I know.
I think he holds the record for most golden boulders dropped in a single episode. He holds the record for the most epic beard in the entire show. Yeah, that's a thing.
There's gonna be some contestants, appealing for that one, but I'm gonna give it to you.
We should have a series of just like the guests that have had like epic beards. Todd Brown. Today's guest. I was about to say the name.
Don't tease it. Don't tease it.
Yeah.
People have to go say it. But all right. I think I'm good. There's this awesome topic. Well, there's a few awesome topics. I was actually listening to the show on the way here.
I know.
And
cool.
I'm like, oh boy, like so much information. And they have so much good stuff coming out soon too as well. So, and something that came out as well already. Anyways, so much stuff. All right. You good, Fonz?
Yeah, we're about to have a good time and have a great conversation.
Let's make it happen. You good?
Sip of coffee?
Is that coffee?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like protein shake.
Let's go.
Look at the muscles.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast,
where we talk about entrepreneurship, mindset, and of course, how to turn your content into profit.
I timed it so good. By the way, go to contentisprofit.com today and join the family. That's right.
Yeah, I'm going to hand you the coffee. Take a little sip right there. Wake up.
Let me see if this is good chicken.
It's good coffee. Guys, today we have an incredible guest. He is coming back for the second
time.
It's
so good, Fonzie. This is good.
There we go.
Next time, make one for me too.
Next time I'll make another one. And guys, today we're going to be talking all about how to be ready to unleash your potential in 2022. Can you even believe that? 2022.
It sounds fake.
Sounds futuristic as heck.
I'm writing dates now. I'm like, what? I'm still writing 2020, which, by the way, like this last 2 years has been so crazy. But yes, we are ready to unleash it. Are you ready to unleash? And by the way, do we have a sponsor today, Fonzie?
Indeed, we do. We do have a sponsor. Thank you for asking, good sir.
You're welcome.
Today's sponsor is your own, the BIZBROS.
Let's go.
We sponsor our own podcast with content momentum. If you are looking to build a six-figure platform to connect you to the most important relationships that you're seeking out there, and if you're looking for a fractional content team that can come in and leverage all that content that you have on the table, guess what? We're here for you to help you out. Slide in the DMs at BIZBROSCO on Facebook, on Instagram.
That's right. And if you want to follow the show, go on your favorite platforms and at BIZBROSCO, because every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, these episodes are dropping on your phone. I don't know what's happening to my accent today. It's all good. What do you have in that coffee, Fonz?
Have you been speaking a lot of Spanish today?
Yes,
is that it?
I think that's what it is. Okay, so put the switch back on.
Back to the regular show, guys. Yeah. Hey, if you find today's guest of value and he helps you get one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share this episode with 3 friends.
That's right.
That is
That's
your ticket of admission. And please don't forget to leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
And we are back for round 2 with today's guest. It has been exactly 78 episodes since he last came to Content is Profit. And today he's back to help you discover what you're really made of.
That is right, Ed. If you know we like our numbers, you know what 78 stands for?
Tell me.
It stands for the amount of victories I have over my brother in Mario Kart, guys.
Oh boy.
But just like
that is fake information.
just like we mentioned last time, he still has one of the most epic beards in the entrepreneurial world. Is his beard the source of his knowledge? More on that soon.
Check this out. Today's guest has helped thousands of entrepreneurs destroy any shackles that may be holding them back. He founded the Unleash You Now movement. He's the host of the Unleash Your Hustle podcast. And most importantly, he's a proud father.
That's right. Let's get this party started. Please welcome founder of the Unleash You Now, author of the Unleashed book, and the one and only Michael Fabber. Yeah, buddy. Look at that. Hey, that deserves. We can probably just frame that part of the video and make an NFT of it.
Yep,
Same.
that's it. Hey, that goes together with the offer that you're bringing onto the show today. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Listen, I'm into creating the beard NFT. We're in.
The beard
Let's go.
NFT.
How you doing, Michael? Man, it's been a while.
Excellent. It's been too long, guys. Absolutely love what you do. Still love your show. Still love everything you do. When I was talking to you guys, I was begging to come back on, and it took me a while, but finally I got the okay to come back on. I was super excited all day. You guys are better than Viagra.
Yeah, oh boy. Don't tell that. Yeah, tell that to my wife. I don't know what's happening. You know what's happening.
First golden boulder.
First golden boulder.
There we go. Boom.
Hey,
yeah,
fun
happening.
fact, if you guys go back to episode 151, which is the first episode we did with Michael, there is a joke too about something growing in pants. Just saying. I'm just going to leave it out there. So seems like it's a topic of conversation.
It's always when I'm around.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Michael, quick update, right? Like for the people, you want to share a little bit of like your story. I know that we went in and we're going to put the link of the 151 in there, but for those that are maybe like meeting you today, right? What is a quick, recap of where are you coming from? Because that is so important. We talk a lot about your story, and we talked a lot about like how do people can actually do the same thing with their thing, and how you started this movement that you have now.
All right, that's deep. I'll try to keep it shorter than last time. Last time I was so long, you guys muted me. So I'm the classic guy that like screwed up every possible way you can. Right? I screwed up in class. I failed third grade. I had to get a buddy to write a paper for me to graduate high school. It took me like 18 years to leave college without a piece of paper. Right? Probably could have did that a lot less time, leave without the paper, but whatever. It took me 18 years to figure it out. All right, to stop wasting the money. And the only reason it was a waste because I was wasting it. I was also in trouble with law. I was in trouble with drugs and alcohol. So I pretty much screwed up every possible way. To the point where I was like suicidal, sit on the beach in Lewis, Delaware with a gun in my mouth, ready to end it. And I'm here. So spoiler alert, I didn't do it clearly. Right. And but so if someone like that can go to that depth and that kind of rock bottom and still be here and talk about the wins and talk about how many people we got to inspire or speak life into or got to see and guide them to change their life and their business and their family, anyone can do it. So it's not, I'm not special. It's if I can screw up that much and do it, anyone can.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much my story.
Whew. Dude, every time I hear your story or just honestly like a fraction of it, it's like I'm amazed, right? And first, I'm amazed at you, brother, for what you've built and what you've created. I think it's absolutely amazing. But at the same time, I'm amazed of the capacity of humans to reinvent themselves, right? And I shared this before. When COVID hit, I don't know why I decided to pick up Malcolm X. I've heard it in multiple shows, people talking about it, and I was like, let me check out this book, right? I honestly didn't know who Malcolm X was at all. I personally thought at first that it was like some fiction book, and then I started reading, and I was like, oh, this is actually facts, right? So I started reading, and the thing that caught my attention the most was actually how he reinvented himself as well. right? And I was like, man, this is incredible. Like this guy went from being, kind of like, I mean, at the bottom of society, right? Like he was a thief, like all the bad things that you could imagine, to being an incredible person, like he was a preacher for many, right? Like he was guiding many people to a better place in life, right? If you want to put it that way. And I just found it amazing. I was like, man, this is absolutely amazing. And the thing that kind of like stayed in my mind was that, just like you said, everybody can do it, right? And now when I see people, I'm like, I do feel everybody has the potential to be great. But, right, and this is the question right here, how do they find that out themselves? Because they cannot be great until they believe it themselves, right? So I guess that's the big question I would like to start with is what takes for somebody to find that, right? To start believing in themselves so they can get out of those situations and reinvent themselves.
Right. That's a great question. And not an easy answer. Right. First, I go to Tom Bilyeu, right, when he talks about finding your purpose, right? Yeah. And it's like, first start with interest, right? Like some of us, like I didn't grow up thinking this is what I was going to do, right? Guys, one day I'm going to start a business, but then change it to a movement, because movements live forever and businesses are born to die, right? And then we're going to have people put green and blue hearts everywhere like maniacs, right? And we look like the Care Bears on Facebook, right? It's like, that was never in my mind. It was like, hey, start with this. And really it's like rock bottom is a funny place because you get to determine where it is. And it was like, I was sitting on a stoop and I thought of like, was my life supposed to be this way, right? There had to be more for me. And I thought of something a basketball coach once asked me, and he said, did anyone breathe easier because you existed? Right? And the answer at that time was no. And that was scary. Mm-hmm. Right? So after that, I was just like, I just want to help somebody. I just want to help people. Right? I'll never forget it. I went and told my boy how CMF and then Unleash You came to be. I went and told one of my best friends, I said, we're gonna change the world. He was like, are you high? Right? Like that's where we were in life. Like I said something like that, and that was the statement back. Are you high right now? I was like, no. Right? Like, no. And then I said, yeah, high on life. Right? And he was like, and then I wasn't believable that I wasn't high. Right? And he was like, how are we going to do that? And I was like, well, one person at a time. And I went and got like coaching certificates because I was like, I really want to do this good. I want to be able to help people. I want to be able to serve people. I was always in human behavior and like neuroscience in the mental health field. So I was like, I want to dive into, and I walked into a diner and I went up to the guy at the bar and at the counter. And I was like, hey, what's your problem? And we'll solve it right now. And he literally looked at me and he said, you. And I said, you got it. And I walked away. And I said, boom, it was solved. One. Right? Alex was like, well, that was a weird way of doing it. But it was just like, I used to think I would hate speaking. Right. And then I spoke in front of a room and I hated it. Right. But someone after it came up to me and said, thank you. No one ever spoke like that to me about where I was in life to make me feel like I could do something. And that moment changed everything. Right. So it's like, if you, things you might not even think are for you, after you try them, right? Try things. After you try them, you'll see if you're interested. And the more, then you'll have to determine by interest level and by continuing it, is it something that you can do forever? And it's like, there's one question you need to ask yourself when doing something. If you're like, this should be my purpose or something I really want to pursue in my life, are you willing to spend more hours doing it than anyone ever has?
Incredible. By the way, huge shout out here. We got Adam put it like coming in here live saying, my personal belief, we find growth most from community. I have to go shortly, but joining the Unleash gave me support, moving to another country, finding an amazing relationship, and I feel new financial opportunities. Let's go. Adam, thank you so much for sharing, man. And this is a testament, Michael, of what you guys do and exactly what you're doing. And for those listening, right, like trying to find their voice, trying to find their business, like trying to find who they're actually going to serve, right? Like we personally are in this path, and we'll share a little bit in a bit of what the next steps are. But for those, like, let this be an inspiration, right? Because we have to start somewhere, right? And I love what you just said about, like, you get to determine where your rock bottom is, right? And that's very powerful, because when you do that, you're like, okay, maybe this is my starting point, or maybe I haven't gotten there. Maybe I don't want to go there, right? Because that is my rock bottom, right? And I want to continue to move up. And the fact that we have people here live with us right now, sharing their experience with you guys, it's so. How does that make you feel? Here's that's a really selfish question, right? Like, how does that make you feel? And when people do that, when you see people that you're impacting every single day, and they say that to you.
Right. One, I mean, that makes my heart leap. That's what we do it. That's what we fight so hard for. That's what we grind for.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then second too, it's like, dude, Adam and the community, he said it right there. It's the community. It's not me. People always say like, Mike, I want to work with you. And I was like, when you join, you're going to realize that what you really want is the community.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's so many people that are so talented in their way, like their area of genius, where it's like, whatever you have going on, there's someone in there that can help. Right. Or has the connection to help. I'll never forget, there was like 2 days before our conference, and at our events, not our smaller ones, but our bigger ones, we typically do a lot of it like SMS service stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Like to get the next offer, check your text messages, right. To see where the next event is or the secret party is, right.
Absolutely.
Check your SMS service, right. Just ways to collect data, but also keep people in the loop, communicate, make them feel special, right. Yeah. Get more touches, because more touches means more opportunity. Right.
Absolutely.
And the guy the company that was supposed to do ours, like 2 days before the event, was like, sorry, we're not. I was like, what? Like, this is our whole way of making the event flow with larger crowds. And I went to our community. I was like, yo, I'm in a jam. I need someone, and we need it in like 48 hours. We need to have it up and running. Mm-hmm. And no lie, within an hour, we had it up and running from a new person. I was like, oh, hold on. I got a guy. Hit me up with this guy. This guy hit me up, and boom, worked it out in 1 hour. We had it done. And it was like, but that's the power of community. If I was left by myself to do that, I would have like notes and pens handed out, right? Like it'd be weird, it'd be horrible, right? We'd be telling like old school voting methods, like here's a little sheet of paper, now read it, and you'll say where to go next, right? Like right? It would be miserable.
Yeah,
I find it very interesting. Actually, today I read a post on LinkedIn talking about audience growth versus community growth, saying that is different, right? That building an audience is totally different than building a community, and I agree 100%. I think most people are thinking about building an audience, but lately I feel like there has been some hype, if you want to put it that way, around building a community, right? And you see a lot of people starting to build ones and implementing. Now, we've been part of communities that are, very small, that it's absolutely amazing. And we've been part of communities that are extremely massive, that is not so amazing, right? Because maybe you get lost inside of so many people. You just become a number, right? So it's funny. Actually, I asked a question in the LinkedIn post, like, what is the point of diminishing returns for a community? Like, when does it become too big to actually properly nurture the people that are inside and help them win, right? So I see you're excited for this question, and I'm very curious about what you have to say.
Yo, first of all, that's a great question and a real concern. If someone building a community is not thinking about this, there's a problem waiting, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're so true. There comes a size where people don't feel served anymore. And if you don't feel served in a community, you no longer want to be part of the community, right? So it's like, how can you keep the most people served, especially when you start growing, right? One of the best things, it's weird. It's like when COVID hit, I was like, oh no. Right, like we're a live event. We do a lot of live events. We have no live events, right? Like that's a scary moment, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And it was we had to like give back everything for the mastermind because we couldn't fulfill the contracts, right? That we had because we said 3 live event opportunities in a year. You didn't get them, right? So it's like, all right, and still we'll give you all your money back and we'll deliver on everything we said we could that we can still, right?
Yeah.
Just to show what kind of company and what kind of people we are and the culture we have. Right. But it was, and I'm like, oh my God, like at the end of it, I'm thinking we have to build this back up. Right. Like when we start having events again, we got to start building, because what we did was we lost a touch of the community. So there was people automatically going to feel less served because you didn't get in the room, and the room is different. Right. Like I don't care how many virtual events everybody does. I do virtual events too. Yeah. In the room is different than a virtual event.
Oh, right? Yeah, sure.
So one of the things we had to think about was, I'm like, yo, when it starts going big, when it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger, we started having more and more issues, more and more problems, more and more people feeling less heard and seen, right, and felt. And my big thing is, like, listen, my number one goal is to end suicide and self-injurious behavior. It's my number one goal in life, right? So I know people they can't feel like a burden, and they can't feel isolated, because that's 2 of the reasons that lead to self-injurious behavior, right? So I'm like, I'm letting things happen that we're trying to stop, period. Right. So how can you make smaller groups and groups in your community? How can you make more focused groups in your community rather than saying, hey, we have this one call, right, for the month? Say, hey, this is this section's call. This is this section. So then it still breaks into that smaller, so you can still find that relationship, those connections, and that time where you felt like you're being seen, heard, and felt, while also maintaining, growing your community. Because you don't want to hide something great from people that are meant to be in it now. Not everybody's meant to be in every community too. Have strict, who are you for? It's like you said something great. Who's your person? Who's your ideal client? I talk about it all the time, right? One of the things to make a sale, you need to know who you're talking to, right? But also you need to know who you're not talking to, right? Like sometimes people say I'm too rude about it, but like there's the thing, like you're not everyone's for us. If you're just like cha-ching, and I don't care who I help or hurt, you're not for me, right? Like no offense, cool, do your thing, just stay away from me, right? Because I don't want to get hurt by it or someone that you're teaching, right? Like if you're teaching, be overly obnoxious and don't build a relationship while trying to make a sale, not for me, right? Like there's little things where you just know they're not for you, and I like to put that out there, right? So one, know who you're not for, know who you're for. That's huge. You were saying it earlier, and I couldn't agree more. But then how can you keep those small circles while growing bigger? And how can you do that per interest, right? Per local area, right? So we have like 20 people from Wisconsin. All right, cool. Let's have a Wisconsin chapter. Let's back them having a meetup once a month, right? Or we have 15 people in Florida. Cool. Let's back a meetup for them, right? Send one of our people from our headquarters, right? Just go but then you're keeping community. You're keeping it small enough for people to feel touches and feel loved while also maintaining growth, which is a dance that you have to pay attention to. That was a great question. Most people don't talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. Love the answer, right? Because a lot of it, like in the world that we are now, and where a lot of businesses need to transition, right, is to build that community, right? Like we're dealing with people, we're not dealing with just numbers. When was especially like with social media, I feel like there's a lot of the conversations that we've had has been around how can I be consistent, and a lot of questions like how can I actually build an audience, right? And it's like, well, first of all, like why? The first question is, why do you want an audience, right? Is it because you're gonna help and serve more people, right? What is it? But
the clouds, people want the clouds.
Yeah. So when do you remember that moment when maybe this was from the very beginning, maybe you always felt community was the way to go, right? But do you remember a time where maybe that was an issue, right? And then if it was, when do you recognize that you needed to make the transition and committed to it?
So funny. Vanity is always a thing, right? Like if we're acknowledging it or not, vanity is a thing. It does something to the interior of the person too. Chemicals are released for certain things. Like we know this, right? Yeah. So that's funny. Back in the day, I was all vanity, bro. I was fake as could be. Remember until like 2011, I was all vanity.
I remember the Escalade with the rings.
Yeah. Everything was vanity, brother. I'm glad you remember that. Jesus, you guys are good. So I was for most of my life, I was vanity. Right? The look, the number, right? I had a party with like 500 people at it, right? Like there's not even 500 people I can name that I like now, right? Like imagine that. I had 500 people from like other high schools and I was in high school at the time. Other high schools, my high school, we have 500 people at this thing. I couldn't even tell you some people's names, right? I broke into my mom and dad's house to have it. I thought they were out of town. They were out of town the next day. So I ended up getting caught, right? It was awful, right? It was a tough time. But it still didn't even learn then. I had a great person in business. Oh man, Jeff. I can't think of his last name right now. That's upsetting. But he said, I was like, Mike, like your videos, man, they're getting huge views. And I was like, right? You want me to show you how? He goes, no. I was like, why? He goes, because I know you're not having huge sales.
Oh.
And I was like, what? And he's like, you're not selling anything. Like you're not bringing people closer to you, so that means you're not impacting people. Like you're just giving them a crochet, like a good line. You might cause someone to run through the wall and not know where to go after they run through it. So if that's what you're going for, keep going. You're doing it great, right? Ooh. And I was just like, damn, right? Like that hurt. And that was the moment I started asking myself, it's like, do I want to be known as a guy that has a lot of views or likes, or do I want to be known as a guy that actually impacted lives? Right? And we want to impact 1 billion people. That's one of the things we want to do. So I don't necessarily fall in love with, I love when people come to me and they're like, I want to work with you, but look at the numbers I get. And I'm like, if they were numbers that you really wanted to get, you wouldn't be talking to me. Right? Like, and that's honest.
Yeah.
Like anyone that comes and talks to you, they're not getting the numbers they want, or they wouldn't be talking to you.
Yeah.
Right? Because if we were getting what we want, we don't feel there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't feel like there's anything to address. Right? So yeah.
No. I was gonna say absolutely. Just this morning, we're having this phone call with one of our mentors, right? And we're getting ready to launch something in January, super special to us. And we've been on these calls, trying to find these very specific problems, right? And we found out that our perception was very different of what the people in our community were perceiving, right? And this is why it's so important to jump on these calls and have these conversations. And through trying to find that out, there's there's different buckets, right? And we're trying to distill, right? Like who's the right person for us? Like who's the one that we can actually help? Like, can we define the problem, right? Because that what we do as a service, right, can be a Swiss Army knife, right? But at the same time, it's like that's very dangerous marketing wise because the message is not clear to those people that are coming in, right? So we're trying to find this, and we're having it hasn't been easy, right? And it's not supposed to be easy, right? We're like, okay, if we're actually really committed to this thing, right? And we're finding the footing on that new product that we're doing for the service, 100%. For the service, people come in, and that's one of the questions that people ask all the time, right? I remember we shared this story last time. It's like this real estate agent's like, hey, I want to be like Mr. Beast on real estate. I'm like, are you ready to give away a bunch of houses and a lot of money? And she's like, no. And we're like, well, it sounds good. Well, we need to start by publishing for like 10 years, right? And that's it, right? There's different things that we don't see on the background, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, why do we want to do this, right? Who do we want to help? Who do we want to serve? How can I bring value? How can I actually create value for that one person, right? And those are really important questions that I feel like a lot of people ignore at the very beginning. We've been in a place where need was so high, right? To the point that made us make decisions that we might have not been proud of, or work with people that maybe they were not the right fit, or we were not the right fit for them, right? And that's something that hopefully not a lot of people go through, but we had to go through that, right? And to learn that lesson too. And we're like, okay, so have you gone through moments like that? And like how do you avoid that, moving forward when you're in this phase of maybe building the business, right? Or maybe you're in transition and you have this job, and maybe you're not happy with that job. And then that's what the situation when we started our business. It's like we wanted more money, right? Because that's the need at the time. But to have that, we have to serve. And it's this like circle that happens, right? How do we go past that? How do people like there go past that?
Phew, man, there's a lot there. And I think everyone goes through it at some point, because you're right. When you first start business, right, you're like, I need to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like typically that's like everybody's like, nah, let's go broke, but we'll do what we love. Right? Like right? Most people are like, we got to make some money. So what happens is you do services for people that aren't really your people. You'll take anyone that comes to the door. Right? I did the same thing in 2017. I hated our own company. Right? Like literally it was CMF at the time. And the reason why we did a whole culture restructure was because I absolutely hated it. Like I dread coming to the office. I dread working, right? Like it was like the clients we had, I couldn't stand, right? It's because it was all things that didn't speak life to me, didn't make me feel like I was alive, didn't make me feel like we were making a difference at all, right? So I think you're going to at some point have to check yourself and be like, how committed are you to what you're saying you're committed to? I think that's anybody, right? And through anything, right? Your job, your family, right? Like any relationships, anytime, friendships, romantic, right? Like how committed are you to this? Listen, like I have an 18-year-old daughter. There are times I really have to ask myself, right? How committed am I to see her to 19, right? Because at some points I want to throw out the car myself, right? So, right? I mean it in the nicest, kindest way, Brian. I love you if you're watching. But I think that happens to everybody. And we really got to check ourselves and see why that's happening. Like, what is that something I'm doing? Is that something we're not speaking life into? Is that something that we're allowing, right? Like, where is that coming from? Where is that voice coming from?
Yeah.
Right. But here's the thing, like to grow to where you want your business, this is where these things come key. Right. And it's no one likes a generalist. Right. Everybody likes a specialist. Right. Like I'm not going to my family doctor if I have heart problems. I'm going to the heart doctor. Right. Because that shit's real. And I want someone that can really help me and not tell me and make sure I have Bayer near me in case it happens. Yeah. Right. Like, no offense. Mom tells me have Cheerios close by. I'm like, yeah, if I have a heart attack, I'm going to make sure let me get some Cheerios in my system. Right. But like what you're talking about, who you serve, is because you're going to get the best results from the person you truly serve that needs you the most. right? And you said something great earlier. You were talking about like, I think there's like stages to this. It's like, know what problem you solve, right?
Mhm.
What problem, that problem causes pain. What's the pain, right? And the more you can speak to that is better, right? But then the biggest thing is the emotional trigger that pain brings up. And if you can speak to that, someone feels like you know them off the bat, they're going to want to talk more to you guys. One of the reasons why I love you guys, when we had our original conversation, it was like we knew, like you knew my language. I was just like, oh my God, right? Like I'm just feeling like we're cool, right? And so when you have those experiences, you want those people to win. You want to be part of that, right? And then when you're doing that, it's like they're getting value and people love to reciprocate. So if I feel like I'm getting something from you, I want to give back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's walking that fine line of one, maintaining true integrity to yourself, but then also integrity to the ones you serve.
Yeah. But this topic has come through my mind so many times. Like it's honestly, it's very challenging, right? You always hear it from, and I'm not like hating here, just so you know, but you always hear from people that have become very successful, right? I feel like that's the moment that you have peace of mind. And even though they probably knew it before, that is when they finally start fully embracing it, right? And they have a system that supports, the impact that they want to build and putting it behind it. But I mean, personally, I'm like, dude, I want to serve people. Like, I want to help people. But at the same time, it's like, but we need to make money too, right? We need to survive. we got mouths to feed. And that becomes like that interest. And I feel like there's conflict in there. And I feel like there shouldn't be conflict in there. Like, what is the mindset? Or, yeah, how can we approach this from a mindset standpoint so those two thoughts are not conflicting each other, right? So, hey, I'm entitled to make money, right? If I work hard for it, of course. And at the same time, like, I'm entitled to serve people, and I want both ideas to coexist without having, to have a freaking battle inside of my head of whether I'm doing the right thing or not.
Right. So the first thing we have to do is dive deeper, because it's not money you want. It's what the money gives you is what you truly want.
Mm.
Right. So what do you want the money for? Right. Like we have to get deeper with ourselves and understanding ourselves and what our true motives are, because that's like when we're like, we want this money, and then we get this money and we're like, this is so much BS I don't need though. Right.
Yeah.
It's because our mindset was this money would do something for us when it won't. Right. It gives us the opportunity to do what we want to do, to be able to get what we want, etc. Right? Like money's a tool. It's an exchange policy, right?
Yep.
It's like wolves used to be, and animals and eggs used to be. Like we used to go to the town with our goat, trade our goat in, get a fur, so it wouldn't be cold in the winter, right? Like it's an exchange policy. It still is. Now we just have this like universal currency, and everybody
Yeah.
and like countries have their own, right? And now we're like now we have imaginary currencies, which I love, like Bitcoin and NFTs,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like we're making new currencies. I love it, and it's like, but what do you want the currency for? Like, what do you want that for? Right. So it's like,
Yeah.
is it freedom? And then what kind of freedom are we talking about? Because people use that word now. Like it's right. Like that authenticity are like the two words that are like the choice words right now.
And value.
Oh, value's been it. You gotta add the value, stack the value, give the value. All right. I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna start having nicknames for, never mind. So the idea is like, it's like, how can we understand truly what we're looking for, what we need, what makes our hearts beat? Because just having money in our bank account does not make our heart leap.
Mhm.
Right? Maybe it's the feeling of the money in the bank account makes me feel secure. So I want security. Right?
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
Like, what is it that we're truly seeking? Right? I want to be able to live like me. I want to be able to live life on my terms. Like, that's my thing. So why I need money is to be able to live life on my terms. Right? It's like, if I want to go today and do nothing, then I'm going to go today and do nothing. Right? Like, I want that right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and not have that right and not be able to eat the next day because I did that. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're like, yo, jump on at 4:30, I'm like, bingo. Right. And like move everything, drop things. And I'm like, I'm getting on. Right. Like, this is what I do. So that's what I seek. I need that freedom and able to where I
Yeah.
can go and do on my terms. And that's why I know fighting for that money is worth it, because I get it. The worst thing we do is we fight for the money and we don't get why we needed it or want it. And then we have people that are rich taking their own lives, doing self-injurious behavior like things. Right. We've all seen, and we've all heard the stories of rich people committing suicide, right, taking their own life, drinking themselves and doing drugs, and to the point of like no return, right? Like we all heard those stories. So if money was it, that wouldn't happen, So there has to be something deeper that we're willing to check for ourselves and answer for ourselves, right? Like my boy does it to me all the time. He's like, I just need more money. I'm like, please don't say that to me because I'm going to just keep talking shit, right? Like, don't say that to me, right? So it's like, why? Why do you need that money? Well, I want to buy a house. Why do you want to buy a house? It's like, and it came down to, so people, his family didn't think he wasn't successful and he didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, all right. So how else do you feel accomplishment? How else do you feel successful? Let's do a million things to get that feeling. And because then we'll be at a higher vibration, higher energy level, and probably be able to do more and do better.
Yeah. I love that. Peeling the layers and going deep is very important. I feel people don't really take the time necessary to do so. I'm the first one to raise my hand. I attempted it at times, and you get to like a certain level, and then it's like, bam, like that consistency in there too. It's challenging. It's challenging to be consistent and consistently be looking inwards and analyzing yourself and judging yourself. I mean, not in a bad way, but objectively, right? Like, okay, this is where I want to go. Am I doing the right thing? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Just because sometimes not doing the right thing, honestly, like feels good, right? It's like, oh man, yeah. Let me just lay here, right? When I know I have certain responsibilities that are going to help me become whoever I want to be, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying that it is bad to take a day off, right? Like you said, you can live your life on your own terms. So there's a lot of unpacking there. I see you laughing. I see you laughing.
No, I love it. It's like we get so caught up in judgments, right?
Yeah.
Like I always like to say analyzing. I analyze myself a lot, right? Just to break my moves down to make sure that they fit to the core of what I believe and want to be and want to, right? But there are some times where rest is necessary, right?
Yeah.
So don't be so hard on yourself, right? This is a marathon, right? Like we're talking about being successful, like to live the life of your dreams or to get where you want to get to. That's like anybody that's like, hey, buy my system and in 3 days you'll be a millionaire. And like that's BS, right?
Yeah. Backhand slap.
Yeah, right. Like that's great. Like if you can tell me a day and the amount I'll make on that day, unless you're giving it to me, I call BS, right?
Yeah.
Because it all matters the work I put in too, and how much work have I put in to get here. It's like some of my clients, I could be like, I changed a client's whole career, his whole business in 1 month. He doubled his yearly income. But I can like that could sound great, but yeah, he also put in a year of work. It was a tweak. It wasn't a whole business developed, right? Like, so it's like, sure, I could say that, but it's missing all the work previously put in.
Yeah.
And it's so one, it's like, let's stop being so hard on ourselves. Let's know this is a marathon, right? Let's understand, truly understand yourself and what your targets are. There's an exercise, Dean Graziosi does a lot. It's like 7 layers deep. And it's like, we do this thing with like when we did the book, right? It was, why do you think this is important? Like, what's the purpose? Right. And then when I respond with what the purpose is, why is that important for the business and us? Why is that important for the movement? Why? Yeah. And we just ask like 7 whys for us to truly understand deeply why we're doing it, what it's about, what it means to us. Right. So then there's no question about it. We know exactly why it's happening. We know the purpose behind it. And that helps the community rally around it too.
100%. Yeah. I love it. This is so important, right? Because like that has been, like Fonzie said, that's a conversation that we've had, with ourselves, between both of us, right, over the last couple of years, because it's been a challenging couple of years for everybody, right? And the world was like flipped upside down, a bunch of curveballs coming our way, right? So we really had to examine that, and we've had different experiences here and there, but I feel like, for example, for us, this show, right? These conversations that we have every week, we have about 3 a week. We try to keep it as consistent as possible, right? These have become one of those things of why we do what we do. And when we go back and we think about the relationships that we built, right? Like, and it's not about the money. Yeah, the show is connected to our business 100%. Yes, we're not going to lie about that. But we don't see the data behind it. We don't see like the numbers behind it. Like it's something that we do because it serves the why of the connection, of the relationships on, hey, can we serve whoever's behind the screen or whoever's listening? Yes, no, it does help that. And it helps fulfill because we're creating these incredible conversations that can serve us, right? We're talking about, being selfish and not being selfish and how to serve people, but it also serves the people that are listening right now, right? And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, this has become that platform that allows us to be ourselves, right? a year, 2 years ago, having those helmets right there in the corner, right? Or having these little toys and figurines out here would have probably be impossible for us because we try to do the high produce thing in FONZI's room, right? With the 2 cameras and whatever, right? And we're like, well, that's stopping us from actually executing for the time that we need to execute to create that progress and run that marathon, right? So I'm speaking to you, the listener, right now, right? Because maybe, we get caught up on the tools and we get caught up on the what camera am I going to use instead of, hey, am I actually going to put my message out there, right? And work on that message every single day or 3 times a week or whatever your capacity is at the time to make sure that you can become better. So when that time comes, right, when you do the little tweak, it does work. So, that's why we feel so passionate about sharing our message and putting stuff out there. And people are like, but why do you do the show? 200 and something episodes. Wow, that's mind blowing. Well, it has so much benefit to like internal benefit that is a no-brainer. We've talked about this. We're like, if the business like fails 100%, the show doesn't go. The show continues, right? Because there's going to be opportunities. There's going to be conversations. There's going to be connections. There's going to be friends. And that's what fulfills inside. So, when they like, what's your launch strategy? We're like, we published the first episode and that's it, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what it was.
It literally like just is fuel, right? Every time we're done here with the interview, we look at each other and we're like, wow, that was so good. Literally, like every single conversation that we have is like, this is so awesome.
Which I'm sure it feels very similar with your events, right? And the people that you serve and the new project that's coming up, by the way. So please tell us more about this. I know FONZI has like 1,000 other questions, but we need to talk about this. You guys just released something super fun, super cool at a price point that but when you told us, we're like, oh my gosh, yes, tell me more. What is it? What is it, Michael? Right? Release the Kraken.
Oh, nice. Thank you. I love talking about this stuff, right? So this is the 3rd book will be released. It's called Be Unleashed, right? And start a movement, not a business, right? And it's like the biggest mindset shift that had to happen for me was I had to stop being so business and I had to start thinking purpose, right? Because what's the purpose? People, 64% more likely to buy from something that is purpose driven than something that is just a business, right? So it's when 64. Do you want someone to be 64% more likely to buy from you? Like I would.
100% of the time. Yeah.
All right. And if someone believes something for future is possible, they're 72% more likely to buy, right? So who doesn't want 72% more likely to buy? So I went through and most of the businesses I started early on in my entrepreneur life was driven by business. Numbers, right? I love numbers. So I did everything by numbers. If you can measure it, you can manage it, right? Like I heard all the good cliche things about numbers. I love numbers. I still measure the shit out of numbers. They tell me not to. I still do it. I don't care. Like it does tell me some things I want to know. I need to know, right? So I think if you don't know your numbers, it's a little crazy, right? But it's also knowing your purpose. Like, what are you doing this for? What's the better life you're creating? What's the better life for the people you care about, your family, your community, the world? Like, what's the better life? What's the new opportunity? What's the thing? Right? Like, what's the thing they're going towards? There has to be something we're going towards. If not, sell sweet cake rolls, right? Because then that's something that I'm not looking forward to anything but a sweet cake roll, right? So I was like, how can we help people do this? Like, how could I have gotten this message back when I didn't understand this message, right? So we reverse engineered. We wrote it from where we are, right? And we're all the way back down to $0, zero impact, and zero income. And I make a joke and I say we were actually negative dollars, but everybody was like to say zero. But I was like, no, we were minus, but whatever, right? And it goes through the hard times, like it goes through where we were, because I was used to be really good at this, building it up and then destroying the shit out of it, right?
Sledgehammer.
I was like, we're gonna get 7 figures, and we did, and then we lost 7+. And I'm like, oh my god, we're down, right? Like, how'd that happen, right? Like, but my goal was when it's a number, when it's one stick, and you hit that stick, what's next? Well, I didn't know, so it was just like, right, and see how fast we can go down from it, right? So it goes through the hard times. It goes through losing 60,000 in the weekend. It goes through when I decided I didn't need any help with real estate in 2007 and bought 2 properties. And then 2008 happened, and we all know what happened, and we all know what happened to the properties I had, right? Oh, yeah. So it's like the big losses. It talks about when I didn't have the proper insurance, and the restaurant burned down. We lost another 6 figures plus. Right. So it's like we go through some of the hard times, some of the beat up times, the times where I literally were crying and didn't think I would continue on being an entrepreneur, and the battles, right, the scars. And then it goes through the triumphs and the victories and where it's all worth it, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be fair. You got to make it worth it.
Yeah.
And I think when you have purpose behind your thing, that's a movement, it's worth it. It's worth the battle. It's worth all the hard days. It's worth the days where you don't know what's going to come in, or if anything, it's worth the days where you don't know if you're going to make any sales or not, right? Like, or if you built the relationships to make any sales or not, right? So write this book. Literally, by following this book, it goes through principles. So I think there's levels to things. I think business principles we all need, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you follow the more principles you follow, the more likely you are to win, right?
Absolutely.
Then there's strategy and tactics, and those are interchangeable. What aligns with you, what feels right, time of year, what's going on, right? Like COVID kind of changed a lot, created a lot of different strategies, right? Tactics are interchangeable. What makes me feel good doing, what makes me feel sleazy. Like, I'm not going to inbox you an offer without talking to you first.
Yeah.
A million times. Like, literally, so how we've been selling this book, I've been going one by one through people I know and have a relationship with. And I'm just like, hey, real talk, I have an offer. I've never told you I have an offer before. So it's probably pretty good, because I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Right. But I had this offer. And if you're interested at all and to hear this offer, just let me know and I'll jump on a call with you. Right. And I'm doing this because 2020, I had the worst run in my life of one-on-one sales. I literally went 0 for 116. Right. Shoosh. And I didn't quit. Are you kidding me? I love punishment.
Yeah.
Right? Shoosh. 0 and 116. People were like, are you okay? Like, people were checking on me to make sure I was all right. They're like, you haven't experienced something like this since the beginning, right? Like, are you all right? I'm like, yeah, I got so used to selling to rooms that I completely didn't understand how to sell one-on-one anymore. So you would tell me a problem, I'd just be like, oh, here's the answer, right? And they'd be like, thanks so much. I don't need to buy anything because I have the answer. I'd be like, oh shit, hold up. For every solution, there's a problem, right? But you're not taught. Everybody tells you for every problem, there's a solution. Like, true. But then next, after you solve that thing, next comes another problem. And if you don't buy this thing, the next problem is going to smack you across the face too. I don't want that to happen to you. But it took me 116 calls to figure that out. I'm not a very quick learner, right?
Wow.
So, right. So I'm going to jump on one-on-one calls, and literally, I'm 30 for 32, right? Like, literally,
Studio clap.
Right? 32 people. The two that said no were strangers. They've never met me, but they just saw it and were interested. But it's so everyone's like, oh my God, what's the offer, right? So you buy this book for now $1,497. And I'm like, if you could take this book and follow the principles, strategies, and tactics and make $1 million+, if you could do that, would you spend $1,015 or like $1,500? Would you? Like, everybody, like, raise your hand. Yeah, like, everybody freaking on earth, right? Like, if I'm like, you can make $1 million from this book, would you pay $1,500? If you say no, I think you're crazy, right? Like, you don't really want it, is what you're telling me. You don't really want it. All right, so the book alone. But here's some fun stuff. When you open the book, the cover of the book, all right, this is dope. There's a ticket to our event in Nashville, April 22nd and 23rd, in the book, right? So there's a ticket to event, 2-day event. We have some crazy speakers, right? Like, literally, people have reached out to me for this. I've been a little suspect on this. I've done some things where you guys are going to be like, I'm proud of you, Michael. Right? So people are calling me about, like, they're like, hey, I hear you're having this event. You mind if I speak? And I'm like, yo, let me tell you about the event, right? So I tell them about the event, right? And I'm like, hey, but you can buy a ticket to Nashville for $2,500. You can, or you could buy the book for $1,500 and get a ticket to Nashville too.
Yep.
So I think the smarter bet would be save $1,000, right?
Yeah.
And people are like, nah, I'll buy the ticket. Oh my God, that's silly. But we put this Nashville. We have amazing speakers. And listen, if now I'm at the point where I'm like, if we're not cool, like, if you don't believe in what we're doing, I don't want you speaking at one of our events, right? So if you don't believe in our thing, no offense, take care, right? Like, go speak somewhere else. Cool. Right? Like, the people that are speaking at our event, I know speak our language, I know speak our life. Right? Yeah. So they can speak life in the people there. Because I'm not meant to speak life into everybody there. That's why I have more speakers than me. Right? Is because I know I'm not meant for that. Right? So it's like, if you're like, some guy was like, I'll send you a video, send me 15K. Bro, meet me and say that to me. Right? Like, I'm going to freak out. Like, I'll turn real red, like the moment in Hercules where the guy popped out of the sand.
Sledgehammer.
Right? I was just like, what? Like, so I've been real sneaky with even the speaker thing. right? But no longer. So you get a ticket to the event where we have some amazing speakers. We're gonna have panels, workshops, and networking opportunities. You get your hotel room covered for that night, Friday night. $500 value is also included in the book.
Wow.
Right? We have an after party Friday night. We call it the celebration of being unleashed. We got the hip hop trooper DJ that goes to Cali and has that big boombox and dresses up like a stormtrooper. He's coming to DJ the party. We have Little Ty the rapper coming and performing. We're in talks with Montel Jordan, trying to get him out there to sing "This Is How We Do It." Right? We're in talks. Vanilla Ice was way too crazy, way too expensive.
So good.
Right? We're talking about to Coolio and MC Hammer as well. We're trying to get them out to perform for us. Right? So it's going to be dope. It's going to be live music. It's going to be entertainment. There's going to be dancing. Of course, you can get adult beverages if you like them, right? Like there's going to be other activities too that are going to be fun, contests, things, ways to win cool stuff, right? So that's included. That's a $1,000 ticket price. That's included in your book, right? The 6-figure blueprint for your coaching business, which is a $997 value, is included in the book. The 6-figure event business blueprint is included in the book. That's a $997 value as well. And limited only for event swag, which comes up to $500, is in the book as well. So literally you get like 7,000 plus worth in the book for $1,500. Just because you're willing to bet on yourself and your business and create a movement that'll impact and change the world and hopefully change my daughter's life for the better.
Heck yeah. This is so awesome, dude.
Let's go.
Oh, let's go. People's going crazy.
And this is the guy that failed third grade.
Yes.
I failed third grade. We're selling a book for $14.97.
Yeah,
I did the first thing. I did like a normal one. It sucked. I did for lead gen. I was like, no, we're doing something different.
By the way, for those listening that are not catching this live, we have actually people who are like blowing up the chat right now. It's like, sweet, see you in Nashville. Let's go. So it's like it's legit. I'm just gonna put that. It's gonna be a party. Yeah. So, Michael, we have to talk off camera. I'm just
I'm curious. Since you say you're like, well, I don't know if you're into it, but you mentioned that you love, that people are creating their own currencies, right? Bitcoin and all this stuff. Haven't you thought about doing anything NFT related with your book as well?
100%. We're working on it. I'm trying to make it right. I'm actually doing it. So yeah, we're working on it.
Sounds good. All right.
It's good.
After the show, we have somebody for you.
Yeah,
if you're interested.
We have an awesome person that like I'm sure he'll be excited to talk to you and just whatever.
And then let the magic happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael, as we wrap up the show, man, this has been incredible. A quick reminder: I know that you answered this question on the first episode, but now with this incredible offer, we're gonna put the links like right below. So if you want your book and the tickets and the $1 million and what you're gonna actually do with the $1 million, right? Because we talked about this full circle. Just go click in there and book your session with Michael. But where would you be if you did not publish?
Oh, nowhere. I'd be in a room by myself saying some cool stuff with no one hearing. What's the point of all the stuff you went through? What's the point of your area of genius? What's the point of your greatness if you don't share it with anybody? What's the point? Right? So I'd be in a room. People would think I was a lunatic, which I am a lunatic, but now I get to be in front of people and be a lunatic, so it's fine.
We can all be lunatics together.
Together. Now you know what it's like to be at Unleash You Now event.
Yes, that's the power of community, right? Like I remember being in one event that meant a lot for us, and we were together with 70 other people in that same room, and we're like, man, like it feels so good, right? The conversations that we're having similar problems. Like we're working together to solve this. Like there's no judgment, there's no nothing, right? And we've been in just a few events like that we can actually be 100%. Like we just MC an event, and we're walking out with Mickey Mouse shirts, and we're telling stories about the Mickey Mouse shirts and these like crazy Japanese, soccer jerseys, and people are like, "What? Where are you?" And we're like. And we sat down and we're like, this is the first time like we actually feel like there's zero judgment, or I don't even think about the judgment, right? Like issue. We fully 100%. And for those that have experienced that, try to find that, that community that allows you to do that again. And for those that you haven't felt that, try to find that community until you find it, because it's a wonderful feeling. And what Michael is providing here to everybody is that environment. So, dude, thank you so much, Fonzie.
Yeah, no, I just want to second what you said. I mean, you can see it in the comments, right? The people that have been commenting and tuning in, they absolutely love you, Michael. I mean, we love you, bro. And, it's all good energy. And I'm sure that your community is even packed with more of this energy. So can't wait. I'm very excited to see where this is going to go. And honestly, I just want to encourage you listening or watching this right now to go and at least check out all he's offering, right? I mean, you just heard him talk about everything you're getting when you purchase a book. So go check him out. And if it resonates with you, take the next step and connect with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Michael,
Yes, I
anything
can
you
say one
wanna
more thing. Think the
add?
bell.
Yeah, do
right?
it, do it.
So when I first started business, we didn't have a big bank account. I couldn't go to a lot of things, right? I couldn't invest, right? Stop thinking cost, start thinking investing, right? And so we wanted to do this. I wanted to really be part of changing people's lives. No longer do you get the book, you get the event, right? Also in the book, if you do go and you are able and willing to share a room with someone, you get the extra ticket for no extra price.
Wow.
Right? So we literally just want to speak life into people and have people there and not go broke doing it. So we at least cover the costs. Right. So, and it's at the Gaylord in Nashville, which I don't know if you've been there or
Nice.
not.
Oh,
but-
so good. So
God,
fun. Yes.
beautiful. Yeah. You can literally take a boat ride in the hotel, which is really rich.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so
Google it right now. I
definitely
think
come check it out.
yeah, just that is everything. It's so worth it. Dude, Michael,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming and sharing your story again. Sharing this point. This was a fun conversation today. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
I love
And,
the
sharing
movement
the
and the
offer.
purpose.
Yes,
Honestly,
absolutely.
It's one to stand for the rest of your life, man. And I know you're gonna have, just by sharing this type of stuff, by being open about it, what you stand for, people are just going to flock towards that movement, and they want to be a part of it. They want to live it. They want to share with everybody else. So thank you, Michael. Really appreciate it.
Sweet.
Thank you guys, man. My pleasure. I'm honored.
Absolutely, man. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into the Contents Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite social media and podcast platforms.
That is right. And if today's guest helped you move one step forward to your goal, please don't forget to share this episode with 3 friends. And don't forget to leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys. Sweet.
All right,
Michael, before we head out of the live, by the way, thank you so much, everybody tuning in live and the comments and the love. See you in Nashville. Oh, look at all this. Melissa, Jesse, what's up? Oh, so
yeah,
good.
we got one last tradition. It's a selfie. So if you're on the other side of the screen,
You can smile too. So
yeah, feel free to smile.
All right, at the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Sweet.
Let's go.
See you guys. Take care.
Michael, man, thank you so much. This was